Last night, I sat alone at my desk and stared at the blank page for a long time. It was quiet, and I should have felt calm, safe even. But something deeper, something below the silence, was pulsing. A vague unease, a tightening in the chest, a thought I couldn't quite name. Maybe you felt it too. Those moments when life is fine on the surface, but your body still whispers that something is wrong, that you should do something, move, fix, escape. As if joy itself has an expiration date, and any stillness is just a pause before the next threat. That's not your fault. It's your brain. Not the poetic, dreaming, soul-searching part of you, but the older reptilian layers beneath all that, the ones evolution carved for survival. Those parts of you don't care if you're content. They're not here to help you find peace or purpose. They're here for one job: keep you alive. And to them, safety doesn't mean stillness. It means control, predictability, hypervigilance. So when you start to feel a little better, when you finally take a breath, relax your shoulders, let a sliver of light into your life, that ancient alarm system goes, "Wait, something's off. This isn't normal. Are you sure you're not in danger?" It doesn't know the difference between peace and vulnerability. And that's why healing, ironically, can sometimes feel like falling apart. It's why, after a day of rest, you might feel more anxious, not less. Why joy feels suspicious. Why your mind starts racing right when your body lies down to sleep. Why, even in a room full of love, your brain still searches for exits. Because the parts of you built to survive a dangerous world don't turn off when the danger is gone. They stay, they linger, they scan. And unless we understand this, unless we learn to speak the language of our own nervous systems, we'll keep thinking we're broken. We're not. We're just running ancient software on a modern screen. And that software wasn't coded for happiness. It was coded for threat detection, for escape, for staying alive in a world of tigers, starvation, and exile. But now the tigers wear suits. The threats are texts that go unanswered, deadlines, uncertainty, rejection, not being seen, not being enough. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It only sees spikes of cortisol and goes, "Run." But what if we didn't? What if, in the face of rising panic, of spiraling thoughts, of that heavy fog pressing against your ribs, you stayed? What if you didn't escape the discomfort, but held it gently? Not to fix it, not to analyze it, but to be with it. That's where things begin to shift. Because here's the thing, your brain may be ancient, but it's also plastic. It can change. It can learn new definitions of safety, new defaults, new ways of existing in a world that doesn't constantly require armor. But it won't do it by force. You can't think your way into peace. You have to teach it, slowly, that the present is not the past, that this breath is safe, that this stillness isn't a trap. And it begins with noticing. The way your jaw clenches when someone praises you, because somewhere inside, love has always meant conditions. The way you scroll at night, not for entertainment, but because silence feels like danger. The way you expect rejection, even from the kindest of people, because your brain would rather be prepared for disappointment than blindsided by it. This isn't weakness. It's protection. Your brain built a system that worked. It kept you alive. And for that, it deserves your thanks. But now, maybe, it's time to give it permission to rest. Not all at once, not forever, just long enough to begin rewriting the code. Not with affirmations or mantras, but with presence. With consistent moments of small safety. A morning where you don't check your phone first. A conversation where you let yourself be seen. A quiet night where the silence doesn't scare you. These are not dramatic changes. They're rewrites in the nervous system. Tiny edits in a survival script that's no longer serving you. And over time, they add up. Not into happiness necessarily, but into wholeness. Into a life that isn't driven by fear, but directed by care. Into a self that doesn't need to be fixed, but only understood. That's the beginning. And it's more than enough. Some days, you'll feel like you're doing it wrong. Like healing should come with more light. Like growth should feel like winning. Like the absence of pain should be replaced by joy. Instantly, clearly, as if emotional math worked that way. But it doesn't. Because healing is not a replacement. It's not subtracting sadness and adding happiness. It's holding both. It's learning how to feel sorrow without drowning. How to sit in your own company without flinching. How to be present in the not yet, the still coming, the uncertain space between what was and what will be. And that space, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't come with guidebooks. It doesn't reward effort the way school did. You don't get gold stars for breathing. You just wake up, try again, and learn how to make peace with days that feel like nothing changed. But something always does. The tiny shift you didn't notice. The moment you caught your breath before spiraling. The night you let yourself cry and didn't apologize for it. The quiet strength in saying no. Not to others, but to the voice in your head that told you you weren't enough. Your brain doesn't register these as milestones. It's still watching for danger, still waiting for you to collapse. Because safety is not a state your nervous system trusts easily, especially if chaos was your first language. But slowly, patiently, that language can evolve. Safety begins to feel less foreign. Stillness stops triggering alarms. Your thoughts grow quieter, not because life is perfect, but because you've stopped arguing with your experience. And that is what real inner change looks like. Not fireworks, but flickers. Not dramatic epiphanies, but subtle turns in your inner compass. It's choosing not to run away when things get quiet. It's holding your own hand, metaphorically or not, when the panic begins. It's knowing that fear might show up, and making space for it without letting it take the wheel. Because fear, like any emotion, is not the enemy. It's a message. And while not every message tells the truth, every message reveals something. Fear might say, they'll leave if they know who you really are. But maybe the truth is, you've spent too long being someone else, and your soul is aching to be known. Fear might whisper, you're too much. But maybe what it really means is, you were never allowed to take up space. Fear might scream, don't trust anyone. But maybe it's protecting the last unhealed wound. The one you don't talk about, the one you guard with sarcasm and distance. These interpretations aren't facts. They're stories. Stories your brain crafted to make sense of hurt. And they served you until they didn't. Now, the work is to listen to those stories without obeying them. To honor the role they played and still choose something new. But that takes time. It takes thousands of micro-decisions. To breathe, to soften, to wait, to stay curious about your own reactions, instead of labeling them wrong. Because your brain is not bad. It's not broken. It just hasn't been taught that peace is possible, and no one else can teach it for you. This is your job. Not in the burdensome sense, but in the sacred one. You are reparenting your own nervous system. You are becoming the safety you never had. You are learning how to sit with your body like an old friend. And it's okay if that feels awkward. It's okay if that feels slow. Trust builds in small moments, like when you say, I feel scared, and don't hide it. When you cancel a plan because your body said no, and you listened. When you laugh fully without scanning the room first. When you cry and let the tears be proof of your strength, not weakness. These are the moments your brain starts to notice. It logs them, quietly. That was safe. That didn't end in rejection. That was okay. And one day, maybe months from now, you'll realize something strange. You woke up and didn't brace for impact. You went outside and didn't think about how you looked. You spoke your truth and didn't immediately regret it. That's not magic. That's the result of showing up, again and again, with gentleness. It's how the brain rewires, not through logic, not through force, but through experience, through repetition, through safe connection, and most of all, through presence. Not the kind you perform, not the one that looks peaceful on the outside, but the real kind. The messy, trembling, fully here kind. The kind where your heart still races, but you stay. Where the voice of fear is loud, but you answer with love. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not becoming fearless, but becoming familiar with your fear and choosing to move forward anyway. There will still be days that break you. You might find yourself back at square one, curled up in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how it's possible to be so tired of existing. You'll question if any of this work matters, if healing is just another myth we tell ourselves to survive. And on those days, your brain will try to protect you the only way it knows how. By numbing, by distracting, by spiraling into thought loops or pushing you into overdrive. It's not sabotage, it's survival. Your mind is doing what it was built to do. But you are not your mind. You're the witness, the one observing the panic, the one breathing through the storm, the one who, even when everything hurts, still gets up to drink water, to feed the dog, to text back, "I'm okay," even when you're not sure you believe it. That is not weakness. That is grace. Because grace is not the absence of struggle, it's the presence of gentleness inside it. And if there's one truth I've learned, it's this: your brain will not lead you to happiness on its own. It doesn't prioritize joy. It prioritizes patterns, what's familiar, what kept you alive. And that means sometimes it will keep dragging you back to pain, not because it enjoys suffering, but because suffering is known. And the unknown, no matter how beautiful, terrifies it. Which is why so many of us sabotage peace. We crave calm but run from stillness. We long for love but question it when it arrives. We pray for rest but feel guilty when we take it. It's not that we don't want those things, it's that our wiring tells us they're not safe. But here's the truth: safety is not always comfort, and growth is not always ease. Sometimes choosing the unknown is the bravest act of self-love you can make. Sometimes allowing joy in, not in loud, celebratory ways, but in soft, steady sips, is revolutionary. Like pausing in the sun for a few minutes longer than necessary. Letting someone hold your hand and not pulling away. Admitting out loud, "I don't have it all together," and realizing the world didn't collapse. These are the moments that teach your brain a new language. One not built on survival, but on trust. One that says, yes, life is uncertain, but not all uncertainty means danger. And slowly, with time, your brain begins to believe it. You may still have panic attacks. You may still cry on the floor. You may still feel like a stranger in your own skin some nights. But something has shifted. You don't abandon yourself as quickly. You recognize the spiral faster. You forgive yourself sooner. And in those micro movements, in those seemingly insignificant wins, a new narrative is born. One where you are not broken, not behind, not too much, or not enough. You are simply human. A human with a brain designed to keep you alive, but a heart that longs for more. A spirit that doesn't just want to survive, but to love, to connect, to rest. And that spirit is stronger than you think. It has carried you through nights you don't talk about. It has shown up in your voice, in your laughter, in your stubborn hope. It's the reason you're here, right now, reading these words. And maybe that's enough. Not a grand finale, not a perfectly tied bow, but this moment, quiet, real, still breathing. You made it here. And tomorrow, you'll wake again. And your brain may still panic. Your thoughts may still race. But somewhere in the background, a quieter voice will whisper, "We're safe now." And even if you don't fully believe it yet, that whisper matters. That whisper is the beginning of something new. So keep going. Not because healing is a finish line, not because the pain disappears, but because every step forward is a step away from fear and a step closer to wholeness. And you, in all your mess and magic, are worthy of that. Always.